Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Playbook. This week's guest is none other than Khris Marcotrigiano. Khris, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Joe?
Awesome. We're glad to have you back for another episode of the Real Estate Playbook.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. So how you been?
I've been good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously we kind of already got some of the intro questions from you answered on earlier podcasts. Why don't you kind of bring everybody up to speed? What are you kind of seeing going on in today's marketplace?
So today's market is absolutely incredible. In the last few years, Tampa Bay has blown up, right? So we are in a completely different realm than we were, 3-4 years ago, which is not the same that you can say for a lot of other markets. So what's really unique here is that people are still moving to Tampa a lot. And we're still seeing really strong home values, which people were, anxious about earlier in the year. And last year when rates changed, people were thinking, what's going to happen? And
Right.
We're actually still seeing that values are up. They're up about, that's not as much as years before, but it's about 2%, 2 to 3% in a lot of markets. And that's pretty freaking solid when you look at other places and other states that are having trouble with their real estate market. In addition to that, with the influx of people, we're seeing a lot of new infrastructure that's coming in. And I think that's the most exciting part of Tampa right now, is that you're actually able to see the city change and grow, and more restaurants, more services, more family activities, more individual activities, and just more resources overall, which I think is a huge plus for people that are looking to relocate or, purchase a new home or in a new location and really get involved in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you see the national news, and there are some markets which are a little bit more stagnant, and I feel like Florida and Texas as a whole are in a little bit of a bubble. One thing I've noticed, especially with rates going up and, a lot of buyers who already have a house, they have a lower rate, there might be a little on the fence and hesitant to move up until rates come down. But with so many people relocating, it's still an active market. And one of the things that I've seen in the reports, similar to what you saw, the 2 to 3% appreciation, is a 24% decrease in inventory. So are you noticing in today's market that's as much of a frenzy as it was kind of early 21 and prior?
Sure.
Are you getting in those multiple offer situations? Is it just as active?
Yeah, so good question, right? So the market is always going to be the market. We are seeing more multiple offer situations than we were earlier this year and towards the tail end of last year, but nothing like what we were seeing before, where we were seeing 30, 40 offers. People were just sending over an offer without even seeing the property in many cases because they just didn't have time. We are seeing in a neighborhood with a property that comes on the market that's properly priced, that looks good and is in good condition and good overall maintenance, and it makes sense, you will absolutely see multiple offers. Now, you may only see 2 or 3, but you will see multiple offers. In some cases, you'll see strong offers. They're not playing around, so they're not necessarily coming in 50 grand over list price, but they are coming in at list price, close to list price, and maybe slightly above, depending on the competition for the property, right? One of the things that I am noticing that buyers in the market are being really particular about is they really want a property that the increase in value, they're willing to pay it, but they want it to make sense, right? So maybe it has an upgraded kitchen, maybe it has an upgraded amenity, maybe it has a swimming pool in a neighborhood where it's hard to get a swimming pool. So people are looking for that differentiating factor. And then also I am seeing a lot of buyers that are looking for something specific to their lifestyle, right? So maybe they want to get out of the master plan subdivision. They want 5 acres and they want a cow. Maybe they want to move to a lagoon community because that's where they've always pictured themselves, or they want to give that to their family. And so I'm seeing a lot of buyers that are coming into the market looking out for that one thing that they had wanted that maybe has escaped them, or they couldn't even fathom getting close to in the years past with the frenzy.
So I'm going to sum that up, and correct me if I'm wrong, is obviously the house is still important, and the better the upgrades and the better it shows, the quicker it's going to sell and the higher it's going to sell for. But you're seeing a lot of people emphasize the lifestyle over the house now.
Yep. Lifestyle is one of those things that are super important, especially coming out of the pandemic that we did, where a number of people were so restricted. They couldn't do the things that they wanted to do, maybe even lost loved ones, and living life has become paramount. They want to do what they want to do. They want to do and have what makes them happy. And so I see people looking for that. We're still seeing tons of buyers go towards new construction. And maybe it's an easier trigger pull because it's new. They don't have to worry about as much. But a lot of those buyers are waiting for those homes to be constructed. And they're putting everything in for a home that might take 12, 15 months to be built. So I think that's an interesting caveat as well. The builders are definitely out, making it worthwhile.
Yes.
It's time to jump. If you're interested in new construction from a production builder, this would probably be your best time to jump in.
100%. Yeah. And there's honestly too limited opportunities, especially in the area of the markets that we serve.
Absolutely.
There used to be
so much
10,
land
15,
and
20 communities you go to. Now it's like, hey, we got one of these three. Yeah. Are you interested in any of them? But yeah, the builders are willing to work. And a lot of times too, the great thing is when they do go under contract for these extended periods, if they can, the 12 to 15 months, by the time the closing comes, they're walking into a ton of equity.
Ton of equity.
Yeah.
Like I can't even fathom. I have a buyer right now that is probably going to walk in, and I don't think they realize it, probably at least a 30% jump in where they started to where they're going to finish. And that's instant equity for them. So that is a beyond phenomenal position to be in. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to jump a little bit into your psyche, especially a lot of agents kind of tune into the podcast. They're trying to figure out what's going to be best for them. Maybe they're stuck in a rut, or they're trying to figure out what direction to go, how to get into production, or maybe a higher level of production. One thing that I've always found intriguing to me is that you got it right away. What I mean by you got it is you always said, hey, there's certain things that I'm good at, there's certain things I'm great at. Let me go all in on these things to give a higher level of service, be the best there is in this field, and then kind of outsource most of this other stuff, which is, not your really income producing stuff, kind of behind the office, setting appointments, helping you with showings. Nowadays, it seems a lot of the agents that I'm talking to are all, you hear it all the time. They're worried about their split or what they're going to get the commission, things like that. They're not really worried about the value that things are going to bring, and then how much, not only the service that you're going to give in the field, but also the income that you can make as an agent because you're able to service so many more clients.
Sure.
So why don't you share with the audience kind of your psyche, let everybody hear a little bit of how you see real estate, how you run your business, what you value is important, and then by the way that you've built it, what kind of impact has that had in your personal life, your financial life, and then also your clients, service.
So, I'll break it down. 100 years ago when I started, I was sitting in a Tom Ferry, was it like a conference?
Summit,
Yes, Success Summit. And they were talking about being the artist. And I loved that. That tapped into something in my soul where I realized that, part of what I do has an artistry to it. My favorite thing in the world is I absolutely love to be in front of people. I love to talk to people face to face. I love to be out. I love to look at homes. I love to look at real estate. I love to look at land. Whatever it is, that is what gets me so excited. I'm thrilled. It's my best day. The things that I absolutely loathe are talking on the phone, transaction paperwork, and all of those things that are the extra things that we absolutely have to do, but can kind of wear on your soul, right? I would find myself staying up until 2 a.m, drafting paperwork and sending addendums. And as much fun as I had doing that, I found it more helpful to have help behind the scenes. So one of the things that was most important was always having someone that would help nurture my leads. Not everyone's ready to go today, and that's perfectly fine. I love working with people on the long term because one of my values is that I'm not a realtor just for today. I plan to do this long term. I want to be a part of your family and your service for many years to come, right? You might move more than once. You might buy an investment. Whatever that phase is, I want to be here for it. So with that, I know that I need help to remember to touch base with this person or to follow up, or, hey, this property came on the market. I need eyes and ears. I can't be everywhere at once. If I'm out walking property, showing a home, or making a face-to-face interaction, I in my heart, I remember that I want to send this person a hello or a gift card or this or that, but I can't always do it because if I'm out, I'm out, right? And I need to be focused on, who I'm with at that time. So having someone to help nurture my database, so an inside sales agent or someone to do database management for lead follow-up and lead retention is very important. That was one of the cornerstones of my business. If I did not have that, I would not have the ability to live the life that I have today. I made a couple of changes over the last couple of years. Surviving 2020, 2021, and 2022 were tough. And I made a promise to myself that I would make more time for other things, right? And those other things, do make me happy as well. I also realized that the only hobby that I had for the longest time was shopping. My husband hates that. But it really was, the only thing that I would make time for was shopping. I didn't make time for anything else because there just wasn't enough time. So having someone to, hey, I need you to go ahead and focus on these activities. Having that assistant, having that person behind the scenes that can really help bring put your best skills forward, and then they can shine with the other aspects of your business, right? So right now, I have someone that doubles as an assistant / database management, right? And then I also have a social media manager. So and that's a huge opportunity for growth right there. And then I'm looking at potentially bringing someone else on or evolving my assistant's role into, additional showings and outside help. So, every agent takes their journey and their walk differently, but the most important aspect is to figure out what sets you apart, right? Maybe you're better at the paperwork aspect. Maybe you're better at the prospecting or behind the scenes. Then that might mean that you bring in a partner, right? A equal level partner that is okay being the face all day, right? I know another set of realtors that's how they operate. One is back there behind the scenes, and the other one is always out on the road, and they do what makes them happy, right? Other agents, I know that they may have, from time to time, they may bring in someone that maybe just does their social media. They love social media, but they hate what you have, how much commitment you have to have for social media. So someone helps them with that. So I think the most important aspect for anyone that's getting into this is to sit down, figure out what makes the most sense for you, right? And how you envision your business, how you also envision your life, right? One of the things for a number of years when I first started, that was go time. It was time to hit the pavement, work really hard, be out there with people, and then, work behind the scenes until one day I said, okay, I can hand over this aspect. I can hand over this other aspect. And that takes a lot of courage, right? That takes a lot of effort, right? Usually people that are a one-stop show are so used to doing all of those things, to give those up is hard. But being able to give those things up, teach and lead, right, will set someone else up for success, that person that's there for your support. And then also it can create more success for you because it gives you more time to do the things that you want that are income producing, and then also the things that you need for balance, right? Balance was one of the things I didn't know so much about. It was just work hard and just work harder. And, now I do appreciate a little bit more downtime. I appreciate the ability to manage my schedule more in line with how I would prefer to manage it. Actually being able to step away, take time out to do the things that have come up or the things that I need to manage. And so having that help, that's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to do a little deeper dive on two aspects of this. One is, you talked a lot about the ISA, the database manager, really servicing the clients. You also contract, transaction management, as well as listing coordination. So really a lot of the stuff behind the desk you've been able to remove off your plate
completely.
To just stay in the field, which I always feel is the highest income producing activity that an agent can do, is face-to-face, whether it's building a connection or making a sale. As far as most agents, obviously because of the way you've structured everything, this allows you to close between 4 to 10 transactions on a monthly basis and have these, consistent $20, $25 million years. A lot of agents will get hung up, they'll do 1 to 2 transactions a month. And pay for transaction management, it's money out of my pocket. Pay for listing coordination, it's money out of my pocket. Pay for ISA, it's money out of my pocket. And they get so hung up on this, and I always say, it's not really what you pay, it's how much you're bringing home.
Yep.
Why don't you talk about, so people can grasp it, When you started outsourcing this, yeah, you might have taken a slight step back.
Sure.
But talk about the income. Did you lose money by bringing on all this help?
No, so, that was the thing, right? I had a real estate coach that told me, she said, you can do more by you doing less. And what she meant was that if I took my foot off of the other things, those little background things that I was, control freak. I just wanted to oversee everything and trust other people to help with the process, right? So what initially, you take a little bit of a financial hit. So at the time I was doing probably a solid 2 to 3 transactions a month as a newer agent, starting out, running around, doing everything. And I realized that I could potentially double that, right? And then some months be able to even triple that, right? And that's a huge opportunity to be able to triple the amount of closings that you have where you're looking at, 9 or 10 or more, right? Putting 18 on the board and working through 18 closings, that's an incredible opportunity, but you can't get there by yourself.
Absolutely.
And so a little bit of a financial hit initially to take on the hourly employee or to take on, the additional assistance. However, I looked at it as a cost to doing business, a cost to growth, right? I was talking to an agent today and I was like, you wanted to catapult your business. You wanted to be successful out there as an independent agent. Did you lay any groundwork for the last few years to do that, right? Did you market yourself? Who are you? There are people in your circle that know you, but how do you convey that to other people, right? You're out here trying to build a business. And so if you can have more time to be the face, you can have more time to do the parts and the aspects that really make you shine, stepping off the back office and stepping out of the way of the people that are actually experts in those fields.
Everything.
You don't have to control everything. You can oversee and you can lead. And that's through leadership is where you actually see growth and you get to give other people an opportunity to shine, right?
Well, absolutely. And one of the people that initially started for you is now a top performer.
Yeah, she really is. she gives me a run for my money every year. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a huge... I couldn't be more thankful for that to have been the true case of how that story turned out. She actually quit the business, right? She left the business and was probably never coming back and came back, working, helping me work together. Yeah, it was part-time, then it came full-time. And then, and now, she's out here killing it herself and killing it to a high degree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And those are great points you touched on. And I want to follow up too, because one thing you were talking about, your goal, I think it started last year, was, okay, you got it built out, you got this grandiose vision, everything's you got all these people you're putting in place. And obviously, people, depending on the situation, will come and go, but you have kind of the master plan, how the business plan is going to work out and allow you to achieve your goals and, live the lifestyle that you're looking to live. One thing too is all right, I'm trying to still do this amount of business. I want to live, try to make the similar money that I want to do, but do I have to continue to do this many units? And you kind of talk about the psyche of how you can create more time by possibly eventually working less, by thinking bigger and still trying to make those numbers.
That's a huge change, right? Yeah. So for myself, for many years, it was always just units driven. Like, let me just do as many units as possible, 60, 65 units. And, that's 1,000% doable for me. I can do it. However, did I love the way that my life felt in those years when I was doing all of that? It was hard. And so when I made that choice, I said, you know what, I do really want to move my price point higher, right? I also wanted to have the opportunity to work smarter. So I took that, and it takes some work, right? So I'm going through those growing pains now, right? There's an up and a down, but as long as you make good use of the time that you have when you're working through it, right? So, last year, I think I cut back. So I think I did 45 transactions or something in that ballpark, right around 45. And that was a huge difference from the year before, but I had done a similar volume, if not more, with fewer units. And that, to me, that gave me more time outside of the office. That gave me more time to service my customers, apply that really strong customer service that I love to be able to give, and a very high touch interaction without as much pressure.
Yeah.
And so it's a really good, it's such a great opportunity. It's such a great position to be in, to be able to make that decision. It is hard though, right? It's really hard, and you realize that that maybe having a little bit more of a manageable lifestyle is important. Just like I mentioned, a lot of people are making those changes to lifestyle being the top thing that they look for. And I also wanted to be part of that and give myself, time to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. There's only so much you can buy shopping, right?
Listen, I can buy a lot.
I know. So I'm going to sum this up by saying this for the audience is a lot of people will be kind of jaded in their mindset, or I got to do this or do that. They don't see the big picture. But if you're intentful, if you're purposeful, if you put in the work, really think about the plan, it's not going to come easy, but anything worth having is worth fighting for, and you busted your ass to get there. But it is tangible. You did it.
It's absolutely, if I can do it, you can do it. All right. I think when people are making this a career, getting into it for the right reasons, right? You have to love people and you have to want to serve customers, right? If you think it's just looking at pretty houses all day, it's not going to cut it, because I look at some ugly houses often. But seeing that potential, being a part of that transaction, being a part of making that magic happen for families, I take a step back sometimes, and I think, like, I'll stand in a house after the customer's left, and I'm like, they're actually going to live here. These are going to be the walls that care for their memories. These are going to be the times that they have their parties. This is going to be the times that they have the low times. It's going to be all of those things. And I think about how important that is. Also, when someone's moved out and closed, or selling a house, and all the things that happened for them in that house. Taking a moment to think about how big of a deal this is for people. It's not just, they bought a house. No, they bought a home. This is where they're going to live. And there's no greater service that you can provide than giving someone the opportunity to have their best possible life, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
I visited a family last week on Friday, and it was super casual. They had some packages that came to their old house, and I brought them over for them.
That's awesome.
And it was just cool. They were still moving in. They had only been there a week. They were getting settled. They were so excited to show me how the kids' bedrooms were bigger and they could have more space in their rooms to do stuff, how they were going to set up the media area. And it felt so cool to give them this new opportunity. And, I couldn't be more thankful for that, that moments like that and people like that. I have another customer that just closed last week too, and she bought her first Airbnb property.
That's awesome.
And that's cool. That's so cool. You're taking a leap of faith. You're buying something that is going to serve dual purpose, right? You're going to be able to derive some income off of that, and then also get a vacation home that's paid for by those people coming to visit. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
When you really stop and think about how many opportunities we're given and the magic that we create for people, doing it for those reasons make it feel like it's not work.
Yeah.
Trust me, there are many days that feel like work, but for those days when you get to see ththose moments and the magic, it's an incredible feeling.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's when you kind of come in for, the selfish reasons or you have the commission breath. It's only about me. It's this doesn't end up being a rewarding career for you.
It's too difficult for that.
And if you're getting it for the houses, you're getting it for the wrong reason, right?
You need to be in it for the people.
Yeah. So Khris, if you could kind of go back, back in time, you were to start over today, obviously you've had a lot of bumps and bruises in the beginning of the career, and then you've now come into a top performing agent consistently in the Tampa Bay area year after year. What would be something, if you could kind of share a tip or something, that you want to say, hey, avoid doing this, or this is what you want to start doing right out the gate. This would have helped me even get into production quicker or allow me to achieve a high level of success. What's one nugget of information you'd give for a brand new agent or a struggling agent right now if you were to say, give them the most important thing that comes top of your mind?
That is a good question. I'd probably say the thing that would be the cornerstone of being able to build a strong career is kind of touching on what I just talked about, which is doing it for the right reason. If you put people first, everything else will follow, right? So I know that we go through hard times. My first year, I spent way more on my real estate career than I earned, and that's okay. That was the starting point. It needed to be hard. It needed to be rough. There needed to be deals that made me cry or whatever, right? They still sometimes make me cry. But I
bet you learned some lessons you
I
never
learned
forgot.
some lessons I'll never forget. And I try to teach those as often as I possibly can to save people from those sort of things. But the one thing that really sets you apart is if you're doing it for the right reason. If your heart is in the right place, you do it because you care about people and you find your right niche.
So no, you're absolutely right. And kind of talking, doing it for the right reason and, everything that kind of goes into it, I definitely think, is what you're going to want to kind of get into real estate for and make sure that's top of mind and not just how much money can I make or how many homes can I sell.
If you get into it just for how much money you're going to make, you'll see the difference. The people that have long-standing real estate careers do this because they care.
Yeah.
They care about people. Those interactions and those transactions feel different for the agents as well. And so I've had the opportunity to call an agent and say, hey, I'm going to send over an offer. And they'll say, hey, it's you? No problem. I'll hold off all the other showings and present your offer right away. Right. That's so cool, right? And the reason for that, it's nothing else other than they know that they're going to see me at the closing table, right? 100%. And I make that promise, right? If my client is pre-approved properly or whatnot, has the financial resources, I will get there, okay?
Right.
Hell or high water. Okay.
You're gonna get there.
I'm gonna get there. And so that, having a heart for the business is truly a thing that sets you apart. I think one other side piece that you could add to that is as much education and exposure as you possibly can. Being in the right environment for building your career is everything, right? I will tell everyone that I started at a different office years ago, and I thought I knew this is where I wanted to be. I thought this was going to be a place where they won't hold me to accountable, but I should be able to thrive and I'll be okay. No, it was not the case. 3 weeks later, I left and joined a new brokerage that was offering the things that I needed, which were, support, leadership, encouragement, and systems to help get me to the next level.
Absolutely.
And without having that support system, so having if I were an agent today and I was coming on board somewhere and I was looking at different real estate teams and offices and all these things that are coming at you, I would look for a place that has an environment that cultivates people and encourages growth, right? We've seen, just in the last probably 3 to 4 months, we've seen some of our agents that have blossomed incredibly, that their whole entire careers have changed in a matter of, months with some of the coaching aspects that we've added and the teaching opportunities and the educational opportunities that they've had. And also fostering relationships with other agents. Yeah. Those sort of things, that'll change your whole career. It'll 100%. Give you a career, actually. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Khris, you've been a wealth of knowledge for this week's podcast. For any agent out there, obviously they can follow you. What's the best way for any buyer or sell in Tampa Bay market looking to buy or sell? If any agents kind of wanted to follow you to kind of see your success, maybe try to get some nuggets of information. If you want to drop the best phone number and email address to reach you on any social media handles you'd like to, we'll make sure to share it on our social media as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to leave it
though? So my cell phone is 813-812-4322, or you can just dial 813-814-FAB. It's like KFAB, but 4FAB. And you can definitely find me on Facebook under Khris Marcotrigiano or Sold by KFAB. And also on Instagram, I kind of have I haven't switched it over yet, but it's Bunny K Marco. I will switch it to Sold by KFAB one of these days. But it's Bunny K Marco right now. And also on the web, you can find me at soldbykfab.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Khris. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to be a guest on this week's podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Real Estate Playbook.